Hey everyone. Today we will cover a very important topic. It's called crucial conversations, also called difficult conversations. And as a leader, this is something that you will encounter. So it's really important to learn this as a skill. So, what is a crucial conversation? Basically, the best way to define a crucial conversation is it meets three criterias. Like, first, the opinions of the parties involved are differing. Second, the stakes are high. And the third is emotions are running high in these conversations. In fact, a great book on this topic, it's called Crucial Conversations. And it's one of those which talks about various techniques. We'll be covering that in this as well as more in terms of how to deal with this. So when you think of a crucial conversation, what are some of the examples? So an example could be something like talking to a coworker who is behaving offensively, or you're giving an unfavorable performance review, right? Now think about it. Going back to the three criteria. First, the the differing opinions. So like when you think of performance review, the opinions can be different. You as a leader may have a different opinion from the person that is being assessed, right? The stakes are high. The person may think of this as an impact to the outcome of the review, impacting compensation and growth and so on. And on the other side, you as a leader want the outcome to basically be for the benefit of the team and the company. And emotions are high. These conversations will appear as if the person involved is being specifically blamed, or differing or separating the person from the situation. And there are many other examples like this, like talking to your boss about some policies, or critiquing a colleague's work, and also in the day-to-day life. It could be asking a roommate to move out, so on and so forth. So these are all crucial conversations. Now, when you think of a crucial conversation, right, it's a it's a topic which has no silver bullet. In fact, throughout the years that I have been sort of leading, this is one of those areas where I've been actually on a lookout for what is like a silver bullet or a well-known technique. And the answer is there is no single bullet. You have to kind of adjust to your style, the situation, and really sort of use some of these things as, I would say, techniques, but then you have to improvise and apply in your own form. So tons of books on this: difficult conversations, crucial conversations, talking about how to negotiate, so on and so forth. So it's a huge list. Now, if I were to right, here's the way I think about a crucial conversation, or how to actually get through a crucial conversation. I think the number one thing that you need to think about is avoiding silence or violence, right? What this basically means is that both the parties involved have certain viewpoints, right? A situation has happened, they have told themselves a story, right? They're specifically feeling about it, right? And they are acting according to that feeling. Like, for instance, you know, imagine the employee or the person on the team is not completing the JIRAs on tasks on time, right? Just as an example, and you're having a conversation about it. And from your opinion as a leader, you may have told yourself a story that, could potentially the person is being lazy. They are not working as hard as one would think about, right? And with that viewpoint, with that laziness viewpoint, you may even be ignoring some of the facts about the tasks being totally complex, or what they are doing might be very different in terms of complexity and level of depth compared to others. At the same time, the others may have a very different opinion in terms of them managing some of these tasks, or maybe having an unfair load which they are not able to express. So the key in a crucial conversation is, how do you get to what's referred to as a pool of shared meaning? How do both the sides talk and get their facts, perspectives, opinions into what you can think of this as a pool, such that there may be things that you may have overlooked. So not just sort of progressing with your viewpoint, but being very open and curious to learn about the others, being dispassionate about what you're feeling, and being open to understanding what the other person is feeling. So that is really the net crux, if you ask me, in terms of how to really go through a crucial conversation. And always remember, the goal here has to be a win-win. It cannot be that you just force your way through. Even if you win once, you have broken the relationship. That is not the goal. The goal has to be both the sides feel heard, feel expressed, information is put in together, and then there could be a common objective here. When the common objective is both, you as a leader and the employee, you both have a common objective of how to get the team to do the best, how to get the company to succeed. That's a common objective, right? So based on these facts, let's just brainstorm in terms of what could we be done. And this is that win-win. At the end of the day, both should be able to walk out with had a good conversation here. We express things based on this. You learn stuff, they learn stuff, and you now have an action plan. So that's the crux of it. Now, a great model in terms of these conversations, right? And again, this requires practice. It's easier said than done. Is again, from this book on Crucial Conversations, where they nicely break it down into the before, during, and after, right? And it's very logical. So before is more in terms of before you have the conversation, being very clear what you want. In fact, one of the areas that I personally struggled with early on in my career was not having clarity of what am I aiming to accomplish from this conversation, right? What is the change that I want to make for the betterment of everyone around? So being very clear on that. During the conversation, it is really about what I mentioned earlier, how to get information in this common shared pool. And for this, you have to think of this not as a straight line, but you have to make it safe. Sometimes you have to go back 3 steps, be very patient, be very relaxed in terms of being open to understand the other's viewpoints, others' facts, others' perspectives. So this is where you have to adapt based on the situation, be very, I would say, cognizant. If the other person is getting completely emotional, make sure first you satisfy that, make it safe for people to express. And the after part is really about moving to the action. Now that we have this information, what do we do as a follow-up, right? Now, it's not, you cannot just learn this in a 10-minute video. So I highly encourage you to sort of pick up a model. Like I said, there are lots of different ways to parse this. Now that you understand the general structure, but there are some finer techniques, right? Like in this, when you're doing this, and there's like some key takeaways for you to remember. One is safety first. If the other person is not talking, it's not a conversation anymore. So really make sure the other person feels safe, especially if you have a leader, if you have a leadership title, it's even more onerous on you to make sure that there's no sense of title or empowerment of entitlement that you're using in this conversation. Second is facts, leading with facts, like facts and perspectives, two different things. Always ask yourself, is this a fact or is this a perspective? And the same when the other person is talking through, is it a fact or is it a perspective? Looking within, like I said, being very clear. If you are unclear what you want, believe me, these conversations are going to go nowhere. So there's a lot of homework that you need to do before the conversation starts on yourself, right? Finding mutual purpose. This is key. End of the day, any conversation, end of the day, aims to solve. There is always some kind of a mutual purpose that you discover, and that becomes the true north. Okay, based on this mutual purpose, how are we going to work through the situation? Curiosity, being very open. You've expressed your points, but be curious about what the other person is talking. Don't judge as they're talking. Watch your words. Very, very important. One phrase, one word can pretty much kill conversation. So be very careful. Bunch of EQ, emotional intelligence, in regulating your emotions, no matter how you're feeling, right? Um, be very clear on what you say versus what they hear. You may be meaning something, but it's always good to play back or ask the other person. Maybe it's lost in words. What you're referring to as X may be something very different. The word may have a different meaning for the other person. So always, it doesn't matter what you're saying. What's important is what they are hearing, right? Um, always be, avoiding this tendency of my way or the highway, right? That's the thing, silence or violence. No, you want to be in conversation. Listen up and really self-assess for success. Make sure that you are, you know, sort of being very, I would say, honest about the way the conversation went, how successful it was, and improve each time as you go through these conversations. There are some other models. I don't want you to walk away thinking that there is just one model. In fact, like I said, there are lots of different models. Different models may stick with different people. They more or less have similar principles. Another one like I like is the AEIOU. Easy to remember. These are the vowels, right? And a very similar structure. Acknowledge, see the positive intentions, express what you see, identify in terms of propose a solution as to okay, how we move forward. Outcome is outline the benefits if we did X, Y, Z, and then understand, ask for feedback. So this is more, I would say, this model is less of a shared pool creation, right? But more in terms of expressing and getting to the next step. So it's a variant, but you get the picture by now in terms of more or less the steps are similar in how you approach this. One way to think about preparing for this is the homework. And there are some good pointers on how to prepare. Think of this as a worksheet of questions that you can sort of use to sort of prepare in terms of what some of the things that you need to go through. Right? And this is an example worksheet as one of the pointers, right? Think about aspects and then what you will say, what you will do, making it very clear, or in some sense, making your thought process clear before you enter these conversations. So to take wrap up and key takeaways from this session is first and foremost, recognize when it is a crucial conversation. Oftentimes, conversations don't start crucial. I go back to the performance review as an example. It may be going in a different way. It may be very feedback driven. Suddenly you may realize that it has become a crucial conversation. And again, I can give you countless examples in personal life, professional life, where conversations may be on a specific track and sometimes they shift. So watch out for that. There are conversations that you will start off and prepare in a crucial form, but there are other conversations which may turn crucial. And sometimes the best answer would be, hey, let's continue. Let's pick up this thread. That allows you to give it some more thought if you're unprepared. The second key takeaway, based on my experience, and very important in all these conversations, is managing yourself, managing really what's in your head, right? And the way I would put it is you have to be very clear in expressing your point of view. This conversation doesn't mean that you are sugarcoating, you are not expressing yourself, none of that. You have to be clear as to what your point of view is, right? The way you do it essentially is something that you need to modulate. The choice of words, whether you do it in one stretch, whether you break it down, but eventually your point of view has to come across, right? And equally important in managing yourself is listening for others. Sometimes our mind shuts off and we are not really listening, right? We have expressed our point of view and that is it. We think that is a reality. So not just listen, but also make it safe for the other person to express. Managing your emotions and watching out for others' emotions. This is very important. Make sure the conversation, look at your own emotions. And if you think things are not working well on the other side, do your best, make it safe, calm down the person, go back to the mutual objective, make sure that maybe take a break in the conversation, so on and so forth. And finally, net, I would say success in these conversations is finding a win-win. If you come out by just expressing your point and finding a solution, I would say that's a win-lose, in the sense that the other person you actually don't know. Maybe the other person is aligned, maybe the other person is not aligned. So very important to think of this conversation in that form. Ending this session with an assignment. And one of the things I would really like you to do is, the best way to learn about difficult and crucial conversations is practice. So maybe one way to think about this is reflect on the last conversation you thought is crucial or was crucial based on definitions we talked about. And knowing what you now know, what would you do differently? I think that's the key. And sometimes the best case studies are the ones that you have gone through, and your learnings will come when you kind of apply the lens of what we discussed and realize that what could have gotten done differently, or you could have gone to a different outcome. So that's your assignment. Hope this is useful. See you guys.